Tonight on The View, The Way Back from Peter Weir, Aaron Pogue at the Abbey, Elizabeth Day's debut novel, Irish street art. Good evening and welcome to The View. My guests tonight are artist Jessie Jones, writer and director Peter Sheridan, and journalist Marion McKeown. A Visual Feast, Irish Street Art is a new book from Rua Megan and Lauren Teeling. Mazer, Wilson Ledger and Jeff Aerosol are just three of the artists who feature with work often political, sometimes humorous, all photographed in situ on the walls of Galway, Belfast, Cork and Dublin, where we met Mazer.
I think it's a default thing to be political if you want to be a street artist. But I think the key thing is to express yourself. The number one thing for a street artist is to communicate a positive message for people that, you know, when they're walking in the road, they can see it and get something positive from it. I like to provoke a reaction, get people thinking, but then also, you know, if you're doing portraiture or something that people will go, that's aesthetically pleasing, it's nice looking, so whatever the objective is, there's different outcomes. The majority of the scene is male, so males are very territorial, I guess. So there's a competitive element to it, but there's a good community there as well, you know. Yeah, there's a competitive element, but you need that too, to strive and to set goals and reach your goals. It's a good, healthy scene here. There's a lot of young people interested in it, and the internet as well has made it a lot more global. There is certain elements of it that are illegal. You do it at night, you know. It's part and parcel. Otherwise, it's street art. If you don't have that aspect to it, street art becomes very limited to certain locations. And, you know, for larger scale work, you know, you've got permission to do the sites because you're there for days. You can't really do it under the cover of darkness. The street art, you know, it's different than when you do work on canvas. It's very disposable. So you don't become precious to your work. I don't paint the same wall over 200 times. Once you have your photo as well, that's the main thing. I've lost loads of pieces as well, but come back to get the photo and the piece is gone. That's just the nature of the game. The book, A Visual Feast, it's a pictorial book. You know, its purpose is taking a snapshot of the last 2 years pretty much and what's going on, the activity. As I said, Feedy's very disposable, it'll disappear, so hopefully in another 2 years there'll be another book again added onto it, you know.
Jessie, where are we at with Irish street art? Because street art is no longer... I mean, people are aware that people like Banksy already is a sort of establishment to a degree, isn't he?
Sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Come back to this because, Ken, I don't want to sound like Alan Partridge here, but in the old days we used to call this graffiti, vandalism, etc., etc. So we're beyond that. Let's leave that aside, all that sort of argument, if there even is an argument about that anymore. Having listened to what Jessie said, though, you have to say that some of this stuff's very good. It looks to me very good, extremely well done.
I found a lot of it more provocative than a lot of exhibitions I've been to.
Yeah.
You kind of go, wow, there's somebody putting a tiger's face on Bertie Ahern. And the strange thing about it is it looks like the tiger face is right on him. It kind of feels like he inhabits it, you know? And yeah,
he certainly did.
It's certainly clearly a statement on the Celtic tiger. I mean, just a simple image like the leprechaun with the pockets pulled out and there's clearly no money in them, and the leprechaun being such... Yeah, absolutely, very much residue of Boussico. So I found a lot of the images in this. I mean, I don't spend that much time in town anymore, not as much as I used to. So some of the images I knew, a lot of them I didn't know. So they were new to me. So it was kind of really good just to go through it and pick up and think, wow, there's somebody really thinking. That's a very provocative statement that person has just made there. And a lot of the images in this I thought worked on that level. I thought they were really terrific. And thank God they didn't go for an overload on the Northern Ireland stuff either, because clearly street art and street imagery in Belfast and Derry has been there for a long time, but obviously very much associated with the Republican
I thought that
movement.
was a weakness of the book, Peter, that it was a really cursory nod to something that is such an organic part of any Irish street art movement.
Do you not get into a whole other debate once you go down that road?
No, because if you look
it's a book in itself, isn't it?
It is, and probably several indeed, but it's an interesting book. It's a damn interesting book. I think I love street art because I think there's some purity to it where they go out and they do it. There's no commercialism in Ireland at the moment. You do it because you want to, and it's so arresting. You come around the corner and it'll capture you much more effective than wandering around any gallery.
But, I mean, is there a commercial element to this, though? Because these people don't seem to have websites.
Making a coffee table book out of street art, there's a sort of wryness there. I was kind of amused by that.
But there are websites and things as well. It's not as though these people are literally skulking around.
But I think that well, what I mean is the transience, the purity is almost in its transience that, you can take a photograph of it, you go out, you do it. If maybe something they've painted over the next day, it's like seizing a moment and going for it. And I love that kind of hijacking of it, that kind of element of the guerrilla sort of artist element. I was just looking at the one that we have it up here on your screen of the Lost Angel on South William Street, and how street art, even when it goes to different cities, there's an identical one in London, and the artist Edith commented that in Dublin she looks kind of lost and forlorn. In London, the exact same angel looks very proud and very kind of, presiding over King's Cross, and that a woman was watching him do it, and she said, hey, you didn't do that yourself, it was a fellow in London's, and that, people are so aware that it really, it's fantastic. I love the energy it gives the city, and we are only in our infancy, and I say, long may it last, and we need a lot more of it.
Do you figure, Jesse, people do actually see this stuff and take it in? I mean, where you exhibit, people probably go in, not in huge numbers, no reflection on you, but the nature of the work that you're involved in. Yeah. But thousands of people potentially see this work.
Sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Yeah,
but the guy who did the Brian Cowan portraits and then put them in the gallery.
Conor Caspian.
That provoked more of a discussion about the visual art in Ireland than anything in the last 5 years. That was a fantastic thing to do. And I love the one in this with the four-wheel drive and the McDonald's sign on the top of four-wheel drive, the Hill of Tara.
Welcome to Tara.
What a great statement that is about just where we're going in relation to all of that stuff. Are we destroying our heritage in one way? It's very provocative.
How should this? I mean, I know, Jesse, you're not particularly happy with the way the book is made, but how should you preserve this stuff? In one way, it's not supposed to be preserved, but yet we need a record of it. So, I mean, how is it best preserved?
Sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
In some ways, this kind of work sometimes being seen as destroying buildings or being destructive. And those lips on the wall, right, those red lips on the wall, I just think
really beautiful.
The old buildings. I often look at old buildings and I think the people who built them really loved and cared about the buildings, as opposed to contemporary buildings, which look like nobody cared, that they were put up in the cheapest, meanest way possible, and that a lot of modern architecture adds nothing to the streetscape. Yeah, and these artists are actually adding something to it.
That has been left.
All right,
I'm not
sorry,
sure.
Mike, we're going to have to move on. A Visual Feast, you might get started on Boozico again. A Visual Feast, Irish street art is published by Rua Megan and Lauren Teeling.